Henshin a go-go, baby. What's good, guys? Yoku here. And yesterday, was that yesterday? It was like the day before yesterday. All right, leave me alone. Time just non-existent to me. Anyhow, previous video, we talked about Sparkle and I gave some opinions based off the live stream and like my review or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of y'all had some interesting takes. There was like some mild ones about Black Swan, which is totally fine. But Sparkle, bro, I didn't know so many of y'all were like gassing up Sparkle, all right? I wanted the mic to be a little closer to my mouth so you can hear my disappointment. I'm not disappointed, but I will say I want to go over some things, address some of the comments that I got, and then pretty much I guess elaborate, because I feel like maybe I didn't elaborate well enough in the previous video. I mean, they were just random thoughts, right? These are thoughts after watching the live stream. Some of you guys thought I just wrote out an entire script while also watching something live and then telling you guys about it. Whatever. So first I want to address the Black Swan thing, which because Black Swan is going to be first, guys. Sparkle's going to be after, because Black Swan is super easy. It's not really difficult for me to explain it all. When I mentioned, because I read some of the comments and they were saying, I guess maybe you guys are correcting me on like that Black Swan and Kafka aren't going to be anti-synergistic. I never said that they weren't going to work together. That's not what I meant. What I meant by anti-synergistic was how they do what they want to do. Essentially, what's the game plan between the two of them? So in Kafka's case, Kafka typically wants to detonate as many DOTs as possible and as fast as possible. And there are a couple different ways that we can do that right now. The most prominent way that a lot of free-to-play players have is getting Kafka, taking Asta, using Asta's ult, and then giving her 50 speed. You have the light cone that'll bump her up to around like I don't know, if you're at 134, you probably get somewhere around like 148, give or take. And then Asta's speed will get you really close to about 200. So relatively speaking, you want to get to 150 on your own and then use Asta's ult. So I'm just going to go with that. Point being is that there is a way to achieve the 200 speed, which would in theory allow Kafka to go 3 times and then 2-2-2, right? That's just how the action order would work, which is fine. Doing that with Swan though is a little different, because now you would have to use Kafka, Swan, Asta, and then whatever else you wanted. In most relative cases, you're going to be using Ruan Mei. If you don't have Mei, then you're going to be using some type of sustain, Locha, Ho-Oh, even Fushun if you wanted to, which takes away the Mei factor in that team. And even without including Eidolons like E1 Mei or whatever Sparkle's gonna, or not Sparkle, Swan is gonna have, and then like E1 and E2 Kafka, without including any of those, you still have to figure out what the actual game plan is. So my anti-synergistic comment isn't necessarily that they don't work together. Again, it's how they work together. So I guess I can also answer the following question that I had at the same time, right? Does she need Kafka in order to get, you know, like whatever, right? Does Swan need Kafka? And like, I'm just gonna flat out say it. For me personally, yeah, I will not recommend anyone pull Swan unless you have Kafka, or you're able to pull Kafka right now, and then you're also able to get Swan back to back. If you can't do it, just skip Swan, grab her or grab Acheron, whoever else you want, save for whoever else, doesn't really matter. The biggest issue with this, and I talked about this briefly in the previous video as well, is that Kafka is here now. And we have all these new characters coming out in 2.0, as well as some the other new characters that we just got, and now they're going to have their reruns. So it's very unlikely that Kafka is going to get another rerun for at least 6 months, maybe even longer. So if you can't get Kafka now, unfortunately, you might just be like SOL. There's zero reason for you to be pulling Swan, no Kafka. Now, if there was some way to like magically see when we're going to get a Kafka rerun, and it was, I don't know, 3 months down the line, then yeah, I could say grab Swan anyway, and then go ahead and just wait and save up for Kafka, prepare for that. But I can't say that right now. And the reason I'm saying that is because they're literally made for each other. Swan is going to plant a house full of bombs, and then Kafka wants to detonate all of them at once, repeatedly. The real question is, how do you get this to happen as fast and as loud as possible all the time? So now you get into who goes first, who goes second, who's going to be the fastest one? Are they both super fast? How do I make them both super fast without taking away too much of the other stats they might need? In Swan's case, effect hit rate, speed, attack percent. You know, I don't think Swan's going to care about crit at all, so we can skip out on that. Break effect, maybe, I don't know. Kafka still can detonate break effect, the break effect version of the DOTs. So obviously you would want someone to have some form of break effect built into their kit. Is it going to be Kafka? Is it going to be Swan? Or are you going to add a third DOT unit? So now you get into, do I just run Swan without Kafka? Is that possible? The same concept would apply, except now you're losing out on the detonations as fast as possible. And now you have to make up for this by doing or using someone else to do the front loaded damage that Kafka would be doing on her own. And they have to be just as fast or creeping up to that point. No other character in the game, especially revolved around DOT, is able to do that. Gwenaifen can help because of Fire Kiss, because of Resolution Shines, and then adding another DOT to either team, so it doesn't really matter. But Sampo, because I've seen a lot of people like, oh yeah, just play Swan and Sampo and you don't need Kafka, just use Sampo. Fuck no. I mean, maybe, right? I'm not saying the damage won't be there, but you got to have a really cracked out Sampo. Your Sampo has to be gas. When I'm talking about gas, I mean, he gotta like, you know, he gotta hit. So it's like that, which is problematic in itself. And this, again, I'm not, if you want to pull Swan and you don't have Kafka, kudos to you, bro. Do whatever you got to do. I'm not telling you like as a definitive, don't do this because I said so. No, I don't care. It's your account. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just elaborating on what and how I felt in that moment. And then now that I have had some time to think about it, I can answer it a little bit more confidently or with more accuracy. So next up, I want to address Sparkle, which this is probably the bulk of the video. So bear with me. All right. y'all came through. Y'all came through for Sparkle. I was not expecting that. I didn't set this up as like bait or anything like that. I still feel the same way that I do about Sparkle, but now I feel that way backed by science. All right. So there's a couple things that I'll address. Let me see. I wrote them all down just so I wouldn't forget about it. Sparkle's going to be in the same tier as Bronya and Mei. All right. That's the big one that I really want to address, and then I'll trickle down from there. At this point, I'm just willing to put Mei in her own tier. I know that might sound blasphemous to a lot of you, especially if you didn't pull a Mei. If you're one of those weird people, and I say weird because not like because you didn't want Mei, right? No, those are fine. You actively went out of your way to try to convince other people to skip Mei just to get Sparkle because you were skipping Mei in order to get Sparkle. Some people see Sparkle as this saving goddess, like the saving grace of the Star Rail game or whatever team comp they have, and that Sparkle is going to be the true saving grace that Mono Quantum Sparkle boys up, right? Like that's what's happening. That's not really what's happening here. So I'm sure a few of you will proclaim to be the outliers in the scenario that I'm about to explain. But at this point, Mei is becoming such a staple in dominant teams that people are looking for another Mei. You remember originally when we had Bronya and everybody's like, I want a second Bronya on my team. Okay, replace Bronya with Mei. Now people are saying they want a second Mei for their team. The PvP draft tournaments, for instance, they either ban Mei or they snipe her turn one. Everyone's game plan has been revolved around getting Mei or not letting my opposing team get Mei. If I can't have Mei, nobody can. Adding into that, a lot of y'all were mentioning hypercarry, and you guys know how I feel about hypercarry. I don't hate it. I'm just bored. That's the simple plain thing about it. I don't think hypercarry is bad. I don't think it's inefficient or unoptimal or anything like that. Some teams I do think are unoptimal when it comes to hypercarry, but that's a whole different video that I probably already have on the channel. Main point being is that every one of you who's mentioned Sparkle has only mentioned hypercarry in regards to her strength. But let's look at the new Freddy Krueger boss for a moment. If this thing takes your only DPS character, which you cannot stop at all. I saw a couple of you like, oh yeah, you can just do whatever to stop him. No, you can't. Don't ask how I know this, but I know it. But I'm telling you, it is not easy peasy lemon squeezy. Yeah, I just stopped him from taking him. No, your actions cause him to take your character. So you can manipulate it probably so that he doesn't take your DPS character, but then how are you doing damage to him? Because a DPS character can't choose to not attack. That's the one flaw in this game that we have, right? We don't have a guard button or a do nothing button or dodge, evasive maneuvers, whatever. So you have to attack. You have to either do a supportive skill or attack, and attacking him is what's causing him to pick who he takes. So your DPS character is 9 times out of 10, he's gone, sniped, get him out of here, right? When he takes your only DPS character because you decided to run 2 harmony units, 1 DPS character and 1 sustain, how do you get away with this? You can't. So now when you're looking at Sparkle, when you're looking at hypercarry, and it's like, oh yeah, she's gonna be great for this. What you guys should really be doing is looking at multiple team options for Sparkle, not just hypercarrying her plus Bronya / Mei on one team. You guys should have been telling me about different teams that Sparkle can take advantage of. I know some of you were mentioning that any team that wants to consume a lot of skill points is gonna love Sparkle. Yes, but Sparkle also shares the same flaw that Bronya shares, which is that she buffs 1 unit. Right? Everyone benefits from the skill points. And then because of her talent, if I'm not mistaken, she's going to boost up the damage. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Not confirmed or confirmed because I don't look at least. Yeah, that. So everyone's going to boost from something like that, right? Her ultimate or whatever. But the actual skill itself, I don't believe everyone benefits from. I think it's still going to be just a Bronya thing. So if it's only one signature or one single character, which in this case would more than likely be your main DPS character or your only DPS character, if you put another DPS character on the team and you ran dual DPS or some form of team combination, whatever you want to do, that character has no benefit from Sparkle at all besides extra skill points after using the ultimate. That's really it. So you're not benefiting in the sense of like, oh yeah, she's giving you tons of tons of value for all these different teams that exist. No, she's not. The same teams that you're already running, she's going to be put on those teams and then do the same, if not worse. Some teams like Daniel, right? Daniel, she might do better, but it really depends. I have to see it played out, because Daniel right now, with the way you guys are playing him, if you just replace Bronya with Sparkle, the same thing will happen. Like, he doesn't, I guess what, maybe he gets one extra turn for using maximum skill points, but I don't see him doing max skill shots every single time. And I think that's the issue that I have and why I'm looking at Sparkle the way that I am. But those aren't the only points. My boy Nyrax gave me a lot of insight. So everybody in the comments, before you start ranting and raging at me about how I'm wrong about Sparkle, let's give a shout out to Nyrax. That's my boy, okay? He gave me some well thought criticism and some valid points as to why I might have been looking at Sparkle a lot differently than the rest of you. And I want to, excuse me, I burped. I want to go over that so that I'm more, all of us are more aware, right? Because once he explained these things to me, I understood why you guys were saying what you were saying and why I was looking at her completely differently than what you guys were looking at her as, looking at her as. Wow, I can't believe I stuttered this early in the morning. I have not had any caffeine. Anyhow, number one, once Sparkle is 2 times faster than the DPS or less every time she advances, she guarantees an immediate turn. I did not understand how the action value was working with the, I won't use the half of Bronya, okay? That's what I'm gonna say to keep myself safe. I wasn't aware of how action value would work in this particular scenario because I'm so used to Bronya, boom, 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 right? 100% forward, come up, don't matter where you are, just Bronya, come on up. I wasn't aware of how Sparkle would work. And it's actually not 2 times. He corrected himself, it's 1.5 times. So there's a particular order that needs to be had in order for Sparkle to guarantee this advance forward, which goes into speed tuning or anything like the sort, which is fine. I'm totally fine with speed tuning. The problem then comes into play. How fast does X character need to be in order to get something? If you have 134 speed and you need to be 1.5 times that, that means Sparkle needs to be what, 148, 150, somewhere around there. So now you need to make Sparkle significantly fast. But if you're running Sparkle and for whatever reason your DPS is faster than Sparkle, now you have the situation where it's like DPS, Bronya, DPS, right? So you might as well just run Bronya because she's gonna do the thing anyway. But if you run DPS Sparkle, well, now you're so far outside of this action value that you need to be in. There's a particular action value that you need to be in order for Sparkle to be able to jump your DPS character back up to the front. And if you can't do that, then you only jump up a little bit, right? You jump up like halfway, right? So it defeats the purpose. You see what I'm saying? Now you guys might understand where I was coming from in my video. Like, again, I told you, right? I'm more aware now. I'm backed by science. So that's fun. That's my issue with that. Let's go on to the second point that he made. Sparkle's buff. I don't know if I can say all this kind of stuff, right? Her buff lasts longer than Bronya's. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it like that, right? Her buff lasts longer than Bronya's. Valid. Which means follow-up attacking units can now take advantage of this. Super valid. I love this, right? Because a lot of us, like, I mean, she works in a sense with Lightning Lord if you wanted to, but whatever. Point being is that Lightning Lord, Topaz and Numby, ratio, boom, bam, right? All that kind of stuff. Jing Liu, I don't think Jing Liu has that, but still Jing Liu because it lasts a little bit longer. All these things are beneficial to these main DPS characters, which is phenomenal. This I absolutely give kudos to, right? Looking at Sparkle in this way, yes, hands down, 100%. I would rather this buff over Bronya's buff because it lasts longer. I don't have to constantly keep doing stuff. And in the event that I'm not going immediately after or before, that might give Sparkle a chance to throw in a basic attack, build up some energy, or build up some skill points that I may or may not have, things like that. So that's fine. Now we know she's based on crit damage as well as Bronya, right? We kind of know that. So in the event that that's happening, significantly higher. I won't say the numbers. You guys can say it in the comments. Significantly higher. That's another point for Sparkle. And then last, we get into the uptime of ultimates, which to my understanding, having 100% uptime on Bronya isn't as guaranteed as it may be looking at Sparkle. Now, I haven't done all the numbers. These are numbers that have been sent to me. So I trust Nyrax because I know he knows his math. Sparkle has a chance to have 100% uptime with the whole ultimate shebang bang boing, whatever, because of the ultimate's details that I won't go into. That. Lastly, Bronya is going to be SP heavy. Now, I do believe that Sparkle is also SP heavy depending on the team, and I'll explain that in a bit as well. But both of them share the same problem, right? You could either run them as basic attack skill, or a skill, basic attack skill, whatever you want to do it. That just comes down to the character and how that kit is built. And then lastly comes down to what I mentioned before, right? Where it's Bronya is boosting one character and then her ult boosts everybody. So bam, that's the entire team. Sparkle boosts one character and then her ult helps everybody, but Sparkle's whole thing is going to be the quantum unit thing, right? Where like really quantum units are the ones taking advantage of this character's buffs. So now we get into my theories and what I was doing through like my sheets and whatnot on how I'm playing this character, or how I'm thinking about how this character works, how this character functions, what I can and can't do. Mono Quantum, my immediate thought is Zila. I don't care about QQ, but I will address QQ. That doesn't mean I hate QQ. Zila is so fast, especially when you have like mine, right? E2 plus, you have a Zila who is so fast. Even if I didn't have E2 and I only had the base Zila with her signature light cone, I still think you run up to like what, 160 without speed boots or some crazy crap like that. You add speed boots into that and it makes it even harder to do this entire speed tuning thing. But because of the way Zila works and the way Zila functions as a character, Zila will always bring herself up no matter what. Like she's always going to go. So now you create this issue, and you can see it with Bronya as well. Now you create this issue where one of them has to be insanely faster than the other so that that person just keeps going. If your Sparkle, for instance, is insanely faster than Zila, which is not possible, by the way, because Zila is just going to catch up. That's just how that character works. If you build her correctly, she just kind of catches up to the top, right? She catches up to the fastest character in the game or on your team. She's going to catch up, or she will be the fastest character on the game. So now Sparkle needs to play catch up with your Zila, and she needs to be attuned for that so that she can play that game. Not common. I don't care what y'all say, getting 170 plus speed, 190 plus speed, 200 plus speed on your Harmony character, and having like properly built shit, not common. It's not. It just stop doing that. It's not a common thing to have at all. It's possible, yes, but it's not common. So I don't address it because it's not something that everyone is capable of doing within like a week's worth or 2 weeks worth of grinding some relic caverns or whatever the case may be. It's just not. So Zila is out of the question. You cannot play this character with Zila and be more optimal than you would with Bronya because of Zila's her literal kit. Zila's whole kit, like, oh yeah, bro, I'm gonna like speed the crap out of myself. And you can't take speed away from her, right? 115, that's it. That's her base speed. So working it in a way, remember what I mentioned earlier about the 1.5 times for being able to jump them forward, yeah? Sparkle needs to be within 1.5 times of this character in order for her to advance them forward and pretty much make it similar or exactly like Bronya's. Zila destroys that, because being 1.5 times in that same bracket usually will look like this. It'll look like Sparkle, enemy, Zila. So all you're really doing is jumping them over the enemy. That's it. And that scenario in particular is only good for situations where it's like a boss, right? Like it's the elite boss. You need to jump over the elite boss. You know you can break them, or you can kill them. You can kill the mob and then trigger resurgence, then kill the boss. Things like that. Or you can get your ultimate, kill the boss. Those are going to be scenarios that are very good for a strategy like that. But I can't say that I would really care, right? Because I'm wasting the advance forward, so to speak, because if I just wait a turn, Zila's going to be up there anyway. I don't have to use skill points, and I can just wait that moment, save my ult, do whatever I want to do. But other characters, Imbiber de Lune, Jing Yuan, QQ, even Jing Liu, a lot of these characters can benefit from being able to advance forward like this, being able to trade off their speed boots, given the fact they have enough speed stats or speed substats in order to help them be put forward or brought forward with Sparkle's advance forward. So situations like that, 100%, I'm down for that. Ultimate question, do I still think she's in the same bracket as Mei and Bronya? No, I still don't think that. I think her and Bronya are now equivalent. Mei is in a tier of her own. You guys can argue about it. I'm not arguing with y'all because I feel the way I do, and that's totally fine. Bronya and Sparkle can be in their own tier, right? If Mei is an S+, Bronya and Sparkle can now be an S, or Mei can be in God tier. I don't care what y'all want to do. Point being is that it exists. It's fine in my head. It's totally fine. They can be equivalent. They serve the same purpose, but go about it different ways. And that's how I look at that with the information given to me, with the information that I was able to do on the sheets, so on and so forth. Now, how does this impact version 2.0? Like everybody going forward? And I apologize if I don't have a lot of the information that I'm looking at or like my sheets on the screen. I physically cannot show you. Like I can't have that on video. I know some of y'all like, why can't you just talk about leaks? You have to look at them because you're a content creator and you need to know these. Stop. I don't want Hoyo ninjas at my front door. I don't. All right. So I cannot put this in video format for you to look at. Go do it on your own. When I needed some leaks, all right, I had to go do the math on my own. I hate math. I still had to go. If I wanted to know it that bad, I had to go do it on my own. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What I will say in my previous video, which you guys can watch, the bubble, right? The bubble pops up or here, something like that. You guys can watch it in my previous video where I mentioned some of the teams or something regarding team comps and how we are going to be moving away from just a hyper carry or just a dual DPS type of meta. And that doesn't mean that these won't happen, right? It doesn't mean that you're only going to run one DPS character. You're no longer going to run one or two. That's not what I mean. What I mean by that is that we're going to be moving towards how Genshin Impact team comps start to structure. And I am working on this video still. I have the footage now. I'm missing like half the footage. That's on me. But after that, it'll get done. Hopefully at the start of 2.0 or right before 2.0. We'll see. Point being is that you guys know how in Genshin Impact you have Ride National, you have Child National, you have Ayaka Freeze, stuff that I mentioned on Tektone's podcast, right? That stuff is moving its way. Like we're heading that way into the game. Let me show you, and I'll have it on screen here, so I'm going to blur myself out probably. This is some theoretical information that I was using for Misha. I went ahead and looked at what Misha did from the live stream. I was like, you know what? Let me just kind of get an idea of how this character may or may not operate. Now, I do have my inkling on Misha where I believe freezing characters, especially on command. We know that he's going to freeze characters on command or have the ability to freeze characters on command. I'm going to go ahead and assume that he might get some extra damage from attacking characters that are frozen versus not frozen. And because he's destruction, I'm going to also assume that he has the same properties as other destruction characters where he's able to hit the main target and then the two adjacent targets after that. How he does that, I'm not too sure, but I'm going to assume that he does it. So right now you can see on screen, these are some ideas or values that I have for this character, just random inputted information from the game or from like my own like Yangqing or whatever, right? Just pretend this is Yangqing for a moment, but happens to be Misha as well. You see that I have the energy placement out here on like how they would gain energy. You see that I have the damage output on how they would do the damage, the ultimate, which the ultimate spikes up a lot because of the way his ultimate works, which some like multi-hitting function or some crap like that. And then you can see that there's a difference between, listen. Ignore the names. All right, there's frozen cock in there, starred cock. I thought it was funny at the time. I'm not changing it. You have frozen enemies and then you have not frozen enemies. And so the damage difference seems a bit negligible, but again, these are just random numbers that I'm inputting from what characters I have in my game and like their stats, and then kind of going like, oh, okay, this might work for like some type of sub DPS, whatever. I don't see Misha going into the role as a main DPS character. I see this character going into the role as a CC, I don't even know what to call it, like CC control, right? Where he helps control, he helps control the enemies, crowd control the enemies with freezing. And then he benefits from that by getting a little bit of extra damage, right? And or maybe he's a tank. Maybe he's a tank like Japard, but he doesn't shield you. He just freezes the enemy, and then he has a little bit of bulkier stats, but you can turn him into, you know, hey, I can block or take a hit, and I can also dish out some crazy good damage that helps assist you to do more stuff. And then now you get into, right, like Yangqing. I'll just give you like a quick rundown of like a Yangqing team that I'm building in my head just for the sake of this. Yangqing wants to have enemies frozen so that he benefits from like the increased crit damage or crit rate, whatever it is. Cool. Yangqing sucks at doing that on his own because he always has a base 50% chance to do it or to trigger the follow-up, and then the follow-up has that chance or opportunity to freeze the enemy. So it's never guaranteed you can't do it on command, even though it feels like you should be able to do it on command. If someone else was able to do this for him on command, then he no longer has to worry about any type of chancing or base chance or whatever. He just gets to attack, which means follow-up attacks are he has a higher chance of doing the damage when they do happen. So if you had a character like Misha who's like, hey, you know what, Yangqing's damage output is not that great, but maybe I can help you get a little bit more damage, bully the enemy down so that you can kill them, right, with your skill, and then trigger your follow-up attack, and maybe that'll get your ultimate back faster, and then that'll help you with energy regeneration. That might work out. You also have Japard, who's like, Japard, hey, I can freeze on command as well, build a little bit of effect hit rate, give you my signature light cone, I can help you with this. Boom. Now you have two units that are freezing on command to help you CC the entire board. Then you also have Yangqing, who has the potential to freeze on command, or freeze on chance, I should say. And then you round it off with someone like Mei. Mei is going to boost everybody up. She's going to help with the break effect, which Ice Team's break effect doesn't really matter, but you really care about the freeze. Little things like that constantly run through my head. And I feel like that's where we're going. Where you have, now you can make Yangqing freeze or Misha freeze, whatever you want to call it, right? Now we can build something like that because you really don't resist freeze. I mean, some characters do, but not if I'm hitting you 3 times. Someone's going to get frozen. To round off that thought, there's the final mention of the new enemies, which were Sam and Freddy Krueger. Yeah, the Sonus Corpus thing. Here's how I feel about that. After watching the live stream and looking at where Star Rail is taking us, we're constantly getting updates. We're getting, I don't know if you guys noticed it with this MOC, but this MOC is beefier. They beefed up the HP of the current enemies, like the current, well, not the current one, but the one that we just had that went away, or it's like gone or something like that. And now we have a new one. These are beefier, like they have more HP, they do more damage, they have more defense. I don't know what's going on, but the same damage I was doing 2 months ago is not the same damage that I'm doing to these enemies today, and nothing has changed. Like, in fact, my characters have gotten stronger and they're still doing, you see what I'm saying? So it doesn't make any sense. They've beefed up these enemies, which I'm not complaining about at all. I think they've slowly been doing this in order to work their way up to 2.0. And when 2.0 gets here, these new enemies might be like beefed up. They might have the crap beefed up out of them. We are no longer going to be able to easily defeat these enemies in the appropriate amount of time using you know, no Eidolons like E0, no signature light cones. We're not using any type of team strategy. We're only using 1 DPS character total. Like, I don't think any of this stuff is going to be able to happen as easily as it was, right? Like, combat is not going to be piss easy the way that we were used to it before. But I could be wrong. That's just a theory. A game. I'm so sad he's done with that, man. That's a horrible way to end off the video. Guys, listen, it's a light theory based on the mechanics of Sam and Freddy. After watching the live stream, that's why I have the way I have. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I know this was a really big ass video. There was a lot I had to say and explain about Sparkle, and I had to dance around a lot of stuff. That sucked, but it is what it is. Hopefully y'all understood it without me having to go into super detail or anything like that. But let me know your thoughts and opinions. Let me know how you feel about Sparkle. I know a lot of you guys are still going to be pulling Sparkle and all that fun stuff. You guys are probably still going to pull Black Swan with no cap cut, and that's totally fine too if you want to do that. I'm not here to dictate what you should and shouldn't do and demand that you do it. If you want to know more about DOT and understanding that, though, you can check this video out up here. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.